Has expired. The gentleman from New Jersey, Mr. Smith, is recognized for 5 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, Madam Secretary, in receiving Planned Parenthood's founder Margaret Sanger's award in Houston on March 27th, you said that you were, quote, in awe of Margaret Sanger. You said that Sanger's life and leadership was one of the most transformational in the entire history of the human race, and that Sanger's work both here and abroad was not done, quote unquote. With all due respect, Madam Secretary, Sanger's legacy was indeed transformational, but not for the better if one happens to be poor, disenfranchised, weak, disabled, a person of color, an unborn child, or among the many so-called undesirables Sanger would exclude and exterminate from the human race. Sanger's prolific writings drip with contempt for those she considers to be unfit to live. I've actually read many of Sanger's articles and her books. Sanger was an unapologetic eugenicist and racist who said, and I quote, "The most merciful thing a family does for one of its infant members is to kill it." She also said on another occasion, quote, "Eugenics is the most adequate and thorough avenue to the solution of racial, political, and social problems." In her book, The Pivot of Civilization, Sanger devoted an entire chapter, which she entitled The Cruelty of Charity, to explaining a shockingly inhumane case for the systematic denial of prenatal and maternal health care for poor pregnant women. Quote, "Such benevolence is not merely superficial and nearsighted," Sanger wrote. It, quote, "conceals a stupid cruelty and leads to a, quote, deterioration in the human stock and the perpetuation of, quote, defectives, delinquents, and dependents." So it is extraordinarily difficult how anyone could be in awe of Margaret Sanger, a person who made no secret whatsoever of views that were antithetical to protecting fundamental human rights of the weakest and the most vulnerable, and to suggest that her work remains undone around the world. As I think you know, in 2000 alone, Planned Parenthood killed over 305,000 children by abortion in the United States alone, and millions more worldwide. So as part of Sanger's work that remains undone, my question, is the Obama administration seeking in any way to weaken or overturn pro-life laws and policies in African and Latin American countries, either directly or through multilateral organizations, including and especially the United Nations, African Union, or the OAS, or by way of funding NGOs like Planned Parenthood? And secondly, and so we can have total transparency, you know, as a former lawmaker, we always have definition pages when we write legislation. Definitions do matter. Does the United States definition of the term reproductive health or reproductive services or reproductive rights include abortion? I yield to the distinguished gentleman.
Congressman.